Okay, so here we are at a traditional read, and we're going to call that looking from behind the ball and looking from behind the hole. That's what most players are doing when they're reading putts. So, Mark, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, this is the traditional method that people teach to read greens, and if you watch most players, this is what they're doing, and there's a couple really big pitfalls to that. The first pitfall that we know from AimPoint is we want to understand the slope where the ball's rolling, and the ball's rolling on a curve.
Yeah.
And when you're looking straight down your line, ball to hole or hole back to ball, you're looking down your line of play, which is not where the ball's rolling. So, for instance, this putt's about 15 feet, and if I look straight down the line, in your typical fashion, it doesn't look like it breaks much. It looks like it breaks 4 or 5 inches tops. The other problem is if I then go walk to the far side of the hole and look back, it's going to look completely different. So now I've introduced conflict.
Right.
Now I don't know which one is right necessarily, but I'm not looking at the slope where the ball's rolling.
So also people are taking in slopes that are off the green, right?
Yeah.
So at this stage, Gareth, they're kind of bringing in topography.
Correct, and they're getting all this information that's non-relevant to the task they're about to try and complete, right? Because what's happening between the ball and the hole is what's relevant, where the ball is rolling. You start taking in this stuff that's in the background, confusion, discord.
Yep.
At a certain point, they kind of just shrug their shoulders and go, I think it's a cup left or something like that. There's no real structure there at all.
No, and this one optically is fascinating because the green itself, the first part of the green goes left to right, the back of the green over there goes right to left, and then the mounding behind it goes right to left and flat, and there's just all kinds of angles going on. So visually it's confusing. The net result is this looks like a fairly straight putt.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, but if I hit this where I see it, I'm going to miss by about 3 feet.
Okay.
So for instance, this putt, it looks like it breaks 4 or 5 inches tops. That's all I see looking down the line.
Okay, so why don't we run through the standard looking from both sides read? Let's have a look. We're going to do something interesting here. We're also going to count the steps because I'd like to know how many steps it takes to complete this, and then we'll look at a traditional AimPoint read afterwards and maybe have a comparison because I know there's a time element to looking from both sides, right?
Very much so, and I think that's where you'll see somebody do that standard read where Mark is getting down their hunkers, doing the read. Then they're going to pace up behind the hole. They're going to go 10 feet behind the hole, something like that. Now they're looking back down. Then they've got to get back to the golf ball. They'll tend to then affirm their read because when you get beyond the hole, you tend to get a little bit of confusion because you're getting a different perspective. So now they're back here trying to confirm what they're doing. That's going to take a lot of time, and ultimately, as I say, they're just going to try and probably guess, and then they feel like they're taking too long. Just got to get in and hit the putt.
Well, let's run through the standard read, the walking behind the hole, looking from two sides. Show us what a standard read looks like, Mark.
Sure. Well, most people will start over the ball and just get a sense of what they feel over the ball, which feels relatively steep actually to me. Then walk back with enough perspective that I can look straight down my line of play, which is incorrect. The problem now is when I look down my line of play, even if I squat down, it looks like not a lot of break. It looks like 4 or 5 inches of break total.
Mark, can I just ask you before you walk, you said you're looking straight down your line of play, which is not correct.
Correct.
Will you just elaborate on why that's not?
It's not correct because I'm trying to figure out the slope on the line the ball's rolling on, and the ball would not be rolling straight to the hole. So this perspective here is straight line ball to hole, but the ball's going to swing out to the left somewhere. So I'm not actually perceiving the slope that the ball is rolling on, which is a big problem.
So you're looking in the wrong spot.
Looking in the wrong spot.
Or the wrong area.
It's the wrong angle, the wrong area of the green. I'm not tracking the ball. If I was actually tracking the ball, I'd have to follow a curve in.
So you'd actually have to be at an angle to the hole.
You'd have to have changing angles to the hole to actually get it correct.
Yeah.
So then we walk back here and then typically walk to the far side again. Some sort of perspective over here where again I can look, and now the issue is it looks much, much steeper from this perspective than that perspective. Yeah, I have two completely different opinions of what this putt does now, and I don't know which one is correct. So a lot of people will then walk back, middle of shove your putt, feel it here. Now it feels kind of average from here. So I've got a straight perspective, a steep perspective, and an average perspective, and I don't know what the answer is.
And feels. So people are already kind of feeling the slope through their feet before they're actually using AimPoint, right? So people are feeling with their feet. We show them how to feel with their feet to a much higher standard in the right places. So they're using it anyway, but not correctly.
Right, and they're not applying it in the correct way, and they're not converting that to how much the ball's supposed to break. So I would probably come back and look again because now I have 3 different conflicting opinions of this. My final view is fairly straight again.
Okay.
So then if I stand over the ball and I'm thinking 4 or 5 inches out, but I'm feeling more slope now I don't trust my read. And if I actually aim 4 or 5 inches out, I'm probably going to hit it way too hard because I feel like I'm going to underplay this, or I'm going to pull it. Probably going to pull it.
Yeah. Okay, so Gareth, I want to talk to you now because Mark's got conflict going on. He's got lots of information coming, and it's a lot of it's working against each other.
Yeah.
What's happening with his brain at this stage? The competitive player in a tournament, this is going on. What's happening?
Well, there's going to be a couple of elements. One is you touched upon it. Confusion is kicking in, right? Because you don't know which of the three perspectives is correct. And therefore, what do? Do you just try and mash them all together and guess?
Yeah.
But the secondary piece that's important is the length of time it's taken Mark to execute that. At a certain point, he's going to go, God, I got to just go ahead and hit this putt. I've just got to guess now and hit it quick because I feel like I'm running out of time.
And that's something that players talk a lot about. It's that I've got to make a decision soon, and there's a clock ticking down now.
Yeah.
So there's another pressure, which is I've got to make a decision sooner.
Correct.
So they're being rushed.
So their process is actually putting additional pressure on them as they're playing golf, which is obviously not ideal.
So let's now look at a AimPoint read. If you could just run through the read for this hole.
Sure. Traditional aim point. We walk in and feel it 2 times. And that's it. Now I have my number. It's about 3.5.
Okay.
And so if I do a traditional aim point read here, I'm playing almost 3 feet of break versus my eyes tell me 4 or 5 inches.
So psychologically, he's just measuring slopes. He's not trying to make a guess. He's getting the data through his feet. Once he understands the number he's picked, he comes back and uses that many fingers to adjust where he's aiming. So it's like present time problem solving, right?
Yeah, and the other thing that's very important there is when Mark is executing an aim point read, we hear so much in sports psychology about being in the present moment.
Yeah.
But to feel a slope, he literally has to be in that moment and go, is this 2 or 3 or 3.5, whatever the case is. So it's keeping him very much engaged in the task at hand. He's not kind of second guessing as he's walking behind the hole going, uh-oh, different perspective, what do I do here? It's clean, it's quick, he's got accurate information. Even if it was, let's say 2.5, not a 3, he's still going to hit a good putt because he's going to commit to it.
Yeah. And if you're using your eyes to read a putt, you're relying on putts you've hit before. So that's the past, or what you think it might do, which is in the future. So staying present is definitely a key to this. And out of interest, your AimPoint read was 10 steps.
10 steps start to finish.
And the traditional read was over 30.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen on TV before people doing traditional reads taking 30 to 36 steps to read a 10-foot putt.
Yeah.
Whereas an AimPoint read on that would be 4, 5, 6 maybe. So I'm putting way fewer footprints in the green, and I'm doing it much, much quicker.
I mean, it's considerably quicker. It's a third of the steps, so it has to be far quicker than a traditional read.
Yeah.
So let's summarize that, Mark.
Okay.
Why are we not using the eyes?
A couple reasons. Number one, it creates a lot of conflict from different angles. Number two, we're looking at the wrong slope when we do it. We're looking straight line ball to hole, and as we know from the AimPoint directional read, which we've done in the advanced series, that is the wrong way to read a putt because we need to actually get the slope of the balls curving where it's actually rolling, which is a curve. And straight line ball to hole is incorrect. So we're going to get a lot of misreads if we do that.
And that's discussed in the directional read video.
Yeah, and it's taking 3 times as long.
Okay, and Gareth, from a psychological standpoint, tell us why that traditional looking from both sides is bad.
Anything that creates confusion or mental discord can only hurt you in performances. And add to that the fact it takes longer. You're going to be getting back to the golf ball going, I need to make a decision, hit this thing. Obviously, you're not going to have the fluency or the freedom to execute as we would like. AimPoint read, you've got your spot. Now you're just going ahead and committing to your stroke.
So using our eyes when we're reading putts is just going to cause confusion. It's going to add things in that you don't need to use. And the only time we would consider using our eyes is when we want to work out stroke lengths or the feel for the distance.